Today's guest is from Norway and grew up in a Norwegian indigenous reindeer herding family, the Sami people of northern Norway. She had her first encounter with an UAP, UFO, at the age of 5. She is a shamanic practitioner, healer, medium, spiritual counsel, and a trance channel and an ET contactee. One of the founders of the UNN in Norway, which is an extraterrestrial networking Norway. Her intention is to bring a vision and a higher awareness and understanding of an intelligent, peaceful, and loving contact with the star people. Let's welcome today's guest, Tatjana Ulvehjerte, which translated into wolf heart in English. Welcome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your audience.
Thank you. What's interesting is the fact that many people to some degree have sightings of seeing UAPs or UFOs, but rarely do they have any type of physical contact like you did. Mm-hmm. And so your background is very interesting because it presents itself with what lies beyond what we see in this universe. And it's a very intriguing and inspiring story, and the whole journey that you've gone through from childhood up until now. Maybe you could share a little bit with the audience, a little bit about your background of like what life was like that led to these encounters, or what was the interesting aspects of your childhood.
Sure. So I grew up in a Sami reindeer herding family, and we are close to nature and the animals. So the upbringing is like, you would say, like Native American indigenous people, but it is like in Norway with the reindeer instead. So I grew up in a family where there were a lot of storytellings, and they believed in different spiritual things, you know, believed in beings that came to visit, and you know, all that stuff. So I grew up in a very interesting family with already the spiritual aspect within that. So I was always close to nature and animals, as I said. So everything was miraculous and magic. You know, there was like this, what we call for hulder. It is this beautiful woman who just appears and comes and talks to people. Some of the people can see them, not all. So the elders in my family told these stories about these overnatural or supernatural beings that came to visit, that could see them. And so I grew up with all these stories, actually, and I was fascinating about it. So to me, in my childhood, it was a natural and normal state to be in that, or to grow up like that. So yeah, but I was so young when I had my first encounter. I was 5 years old. But my family, my mother and my aunt was with me, and we used to have go for walks in this moonlight, because it was winter time. The moon was beautiful and bright and shiny. So we used to have these walks. So it was me, my aunt, and my mother. We have never talked, actually, before that. We never talked about UFOs and extraterrestrial beings, but other types of beings. So this was my first encounter with the ET beings, or the craft, the light craft. So we went on this trip outside, just walking. And then when we came back to our house again, the moon was there. And then I remember my auntie said, "Oh, look." And she looked up, and I also looked up, and I saw this craft, or this light. It was like oval. It was one big and a smaller one attached to the big one. It wasn't emanated directly light, but it was as my auntie said, it was like it wasn't shining light, but it was light, and I could see that. So I remember that I could see the moon, and I could see that object. So I said instantly, I don't remember if I said it within me, you know, consciousness, or to my mother or my grandma, no, my auntie, that look, it's 2 moons in the sky. And they were like, no, that can't be. That's not the moon, because the moon is over there, and that's something else. So they had this discussion about what it was. Wow. But I was so mesmerized about that light. So I just kept staring at it. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I just kept staring at it. And I remember that it was kind of descending towards me. from above, and I just got sucked into that light, and everything else around me just faded away. I could hear in the background my aunt and my mother was talking, what is this, blah blah blah, and I can sense a little bit, they were a little bit concerned and a little bit afraid. Were they gonna, what were they gonna do? Are they gonna go inside or what? But I was just mesmerized by the light. So it was like I was sucked into it, to the light. So I was just staring at it. I can remember it as it was like yesterday. It was amazing. So I looked at it and I could feel this enormous love, safety, and I was like, I was bathing in love, and I felt safe. And then it popped up in my mind. It's like, oh, finally they're gonna come and get me, come and take me home, because in that light, within that experience, I felt this is home.
Right.
This is where I belong. It's like, oh, finally my real family is coming to get me and take me home. So that's what I felt. So when I came a little bit out of it, and I could see the light was ascending, it was moving away, and that was kind of like a traumatic experience for me, because I thought, no, don't leave me. So I had this separation anxiety when I saw that they were ascending.
Wow.
And I was just screaming within my mind. It's like, don't leave me, please don't leave me. I thought you came to get me, to take me home. But they assured me, I felt that they were like talking to me or communicating me telepathically in form of emotions that kind of calmed me down. So I was just wondering there, but it was still, I was just 5 years old, and, you know, experiencing that disconnection from something you feel is so familiar.
Yeah.
It was hard. I can remember that, and I you know, I have emotions with that. Every time I talk about it, I still relive it.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. So
Go ahead. I was just going to say to you, in terms of having this experience at that time, were you isolated where you lived from other people, or were you just with amongst the same people of your community who shared the same belief system?
Yeah, I was amongst my family who, you know, I grew up with, my mother and my aunt, but there were also other people around, but the houses are spread, so it's not such a big community.
Right.
But it was us, the Sami people, the Sami family, and then there were the Norwegian people living around, you know. So, but later, several years actually later, I heard that some of the neighbors in the little you know, place where I lived, it's kind of like in the in nature, it's not many houses there. They also talked that they seen the same thing, but they never talked about it, and never, you know, never mentioned it to other people. They was just in this, you know, small families. But it was like years and years later, and my mom never mentioned it again. So my aunt didn't either. But it was several years later, I talked to my aunt and said, you know, I remember something. And I told her the experience, and she said, yeah, that's true. You know, this is, I know. And they said, why didn't you talk about it? Nobody talked about it. Yeah, but they said, no, we couldn't talk about it because, you know, in the community with the Norwegian people, they didn't want to be looked upon differently, because they really tried to fit in, and, you know, in a Norwegian community. Yeah, so they didn't want to talk about it because they felt that, they already look upon us like different and, no, strange. So if we go out and tell about this story, they would, you know, that was not a question.
Right.
So, but I found out later.
What's interesting is that when I speak to many people who've had either near-death experiences, when they go through a near-death experience, they have usually some type of encounter with some type of galactic being or some type of starseed energy. And then what happens is their mediumship abilities, their psychic abilities take hold in that encounter. Was there anything that took place when you were younger, before age 5, that had brought you to this connection?
Sure. It's been only lately that I made that connection myself. Because when I was born, it was a traumatic birth. And when I was then born, I was completely blue and I couldn't breathe. And they took me to special care. And they said, oh my God, to save this child, we need to change her blood or give her new blood. Because I didn't have any, so I talked to my cousin about it and my aunt and said, yeah, that happened. So this is like, oh, okay. I couldn't be that much. I mean, I must have been near death because I was completely blue and it was chaotic and they had to change my blood. I didn't understand, but how could you change your blood on a little human being that completely changed your blood?
Yeah.
But that was what they had to do, that the blood transfusion so I could live. But it was so I expect that I had an experience right then at birth, because I have always been spiritual. Always. It was from very little age, from very young age. I never thought things like this, the spiritual and ghosts and spirits were strange. I thought this was the normal. Everybody knew this and everybody had this experience. Also, when that happened with the UFO experience, I thought, well, I mean, I grew up thinking that this is normal and everybody experiences this, until I found out that was not so. So that led to my deeper search for the truth, for what it is, what has happened to me. And that never left me since then. So I just kept on searching for answers, digging deep. What is this? What are these objects? And what are these beings? So
it's interesting because we that desire to go home, many people have that feeling and don't understand the connection towards being a starseed and yearning to go back to the origins. But like, for example, I had a close relationship with my grandmother who shared her life with me during the war years when she came here from Russia. And I had a deep connection with her and a trust and understanding of my family's heritage and the life that they led. And so was there somebody in your family that had experienced some type of encounter prior to yours?
Absolutely. And since then, I heard that often these encounters are isolated sometimes to family members. It passes on to one family member and then to another. So that actually happens to my grandmother. My grandmother was a typical Sami grandmother. She never watched TV. She never listens to radio. She never read books, nothing. She was, she never did those things. And one evening when I was in my early teens, I was sitting in my mother's house with my cousin. And as I usually did, I was always looking out the window in wintertime when this was the clear sky with all the stars. Always stared. I could sit for hours staring at the stars and feeling and waiting when are they come and get me, because I actually don't like being here. It's kind of difficult to be here with these human things stuff. So I was just always looking, longing for them to come back and get me. And my cousin and me I was discussing about this, and she said, do you think they are there? Do you think they are like UFOs and extraterrestrials? And it's like, yeah, I think so. So we just, talked about it. And suddenly my grandmother, because my grandmother and my mother lived next to each other, two different houses. And suddenly my grandmother was just standing there in the middle of the living room, quiet. So we just kind of like, oh, are you here, grandmother? What's going on? And she said, well, I just listened to your discussions about these, the UFOs and these otherworldly beings. And she said, this happened to me, she said. Wow. And we were just, me and my cousin, we were just, what? Grandmother? What are you talking about? And I said, but, how can it be? My grandmother, never watched TV, never read any books or anything. And we were just, our jaws just dropped to our knees. And we were like, what? And she came closer to the table and she said, well, since you two are talking about this, and this happened to me, I will tell you what happened. And you should know that I have not told anybody before because she was afraid of being put away on a psychic award or something.
Yeah.
So she had never talked about it, but she said, okay, since you are really listening and you are talking about this, I feel safe to tell the story. And I'm so happy she did, because if she hadn't told me the story, I don't know where I would be in the landscape of UFOs and ETs right now. So now she became a catalyst
Yeah.
for me seeking deeper into this. And so she told us, because we have this summer house, there's no road to this house, it's very, out in nowhere. We have to walk like almost an hour to get there, and we have the sea there and this house and this boathouse next to it. So we used to be there at summertime, but at this time when my grandmother was there, she was by herself. And she said she was just about going to bed. And when she couldn't sleep, and she heard somebody ask her or tell her, now can you please get up, go down to the boathouse, and we're there. Just get up and go down. She said the voice was so clear and so loud that she said I couldn't do anything but do that.
Wow.
So she listened and she went out. And she went to the boathouse, and when she came down to the boathouse, she could clearly see, and she explained it, a classic UFO. It was like gray, metallic gray. She said, she explained it, you can imagine our jaw was dropping when she talked about it, because how can this is insane. Our grandmother is explaining exactly how these things, look like. And I was mesmerized by the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she said, and then she came closer to the object, to the UFO, and there was a staircase, kind of like a staircase that came out of it. And she heard them say, please step in. Can you come in, and we're going to take you on a tour, or we want you to travel with us. And she said she couldn't resist these people who talked to her. And she said they didn't talk to me, like I didn't see anybody, but I could hear them talking, but I couldn't see any of them.
Oh, wow.
And we understood, that's telepathy.
Yeah.
And my mother, now grandma, never heard about telepathy. So we were so mesmerized by the whole thing. And she said, well, I went into this object, and when I came into this room, there was a room that was full with light. She couldn't see any walls or ceilings or floors or anything. It was just light everywhere. And when she came in there, she said, she heard their voice again. She said, please sit down. Now we're going to take you on a tour. And she was looking around, but she said, there's no chairs here. There was no chairs. And she was like, can you believe it? She said, I sat down in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the air with no chair, but I could still feel I was sitting down. And then she said, well, there was still nobody there, but she could hear them talking. And she got a little bit worried, and she said that, well, I don't know about this, because where are we going, how far, and how long I'm gonna be gone for, because how about food, because she was the one who always made the food for the family. She was very concerned about food and what she was going to eat when she was on this trip. And they said, don't worry, it's not going to take long, and we will take you back home again. We just want you to come with us and have this trip. So she said, well, they felt very convincing, so she said, okay. And then they went, and then she had a feeling that she should go and get up and go towards this light in front of her. And when she came there in front of her, this window was like opening up. And then she saw, oh my goodness, she could see like the summer house was getting smaller and smaller. The sea was getting smaller. And it started, she could see that she was ascending. And she said, oh my goodness, everything was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Then she could see the land, and then she could see the earth. And then finally she said the earth was as small as a tennis ball. She saw the earth as a tennis ball. And then she got a little bit worried again and said, oh my goodness, now I'm far over here. How am I supposed to come home again?
Wow.
And they reassured her, it's okay, we're going to take you back home. We just want you to have this experience. And when she saw that, tennis ball, she had this concern. And then she said that, okay, after that, she said, suddenly she woke up, and not woke up, but suddenly she found herself sitting in her bed again at the very same spot that she got up from.
Right.
From the beginning when she went down. And she said, she said, this was amazing experience. Then she was sitting there, but she could really remember the whole experience. And we were so mesmerized about all the details she told. And we were just, it was just jaw dropping. And she said that that experience was so profound to her because she, before that experience, she was afraid of dying. And she was afraid of walking in the darkness. So she always had this old flashlight with her when she walked, you know, from her house into my mother's house to visit. And she said, now I'm not afraid of dying anymore. The fear has gone and I'm not afraid of the darkness anymore. And after that, she never used the flashlight again. She was walking around in complete darkness.
Yeah.
And she was fine.
It's interesting because, you know, you want people have experiences, and the first thing they want to do is share their experiences with others so that they can either convince others to what they saw to get confirmation that they're not crazy, or that they can actually expand people's, I guess, levels of consciousness by helping them to see what lies beyond what we all see without, you know, in this present matrix.
Yeah.
So what happened? What did you do with that information? Did you continue on with it, or did you have to stop investigating at some point? Where did you go with that?
What, yeah, when I heard that, it just stuck with me. It was like, I could just feel that this was the truth. And because my grandmother told it, how could she know? I mean, something happened to her and it was real. So I brought it with me because, but I didn't, because I was in my early teens, things happening, you know, I was going to school and I was traveling, you know, going to school and then moving to the city, up in North Norway, moving to the city, and, you know, stuff happens when you're a teenager and doing school. So I never thought of it. But then later on in my early teens, I moved to the capital of Norway, which is in the south. I lived in the north. And then I started having experiences in my apartment. That was, it was a series of experiences that reminded me again, okay, something is happening to me. This is serious, this is real. And I always had the remembrance of my mother's experience with me to confirm, always to confirm that I was not crazy. This is really happening to me. It happened to her and now it's happening to me. So based on all these experiences I had in that apartment alone, it was a series of experiences in a short amount of time.
Right.
And that led to further investigation, you know, looking up books, searching for books, reading books, trying to find out, because there was not much, you know, YouTube channels there then that you can hear other people's stories. It wasn't much of that at all. So I had to do that research, and I came in contact with people that were interested in the phenomena, interested in UFO and ETs, and always ask them and listen to their stories, not sharing so much my own, because I was like really still researching. And I had some profound experiences that I really had to work on. I really had to process them, to integrate them, along with doing, you know, the research I could through books, to talking to other people. So I came to Oslo when I was in Oslo. So I had a series of, would you like me to talk about these experiences?
Yes,
that I
yes,
had?
yes.
Okay, in my apartment? Oh yeah, okay, good. Because it happened, you know, nothing really traumatic happened to me that could lead to having these sort of experiences. Everything was just fine. And the first experience I had was when I was about to go to bed, and I remember I had this knee and hip problem. I was working in a kindergarten. I had this knee and hip problem that made it difficult to me to walk, and then for a period I couldn't go to work. So I was very concerned about that, because I was very, you know, a responsible worker, and, you know, so I thought, oh, what is this? What should I do? Should I go to a doctor to fix it, or what should I do? So one night I was really worried about that, and I went to bed, and then I was laying down, and I could hear this noise. It was like if you take two plates of metal and you run them together like this, and then it causes like a really loud, maybe a little bit annoying metallic sound.
Yeah.
That sound I could hear coming into the room, and it got louder and louder and louder. And then I could feel my body started tingling, and I lost, how should I put it? I lost contact with my body. I couldn't feel my body. It was like my body got paralyzed, but I was still aware. I could use my eyes, and I noticed that, okay, my body is like paralyzed, but I'm still here. I can move my eyes. I checked myself, you know, even though I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't move a finger, nothing. And then the sound get louder and louder, and it's so loud that it got, you know, I could feel it penetrating my ear, my right ear, while I was laying there in my bed, penetrating my ear. And I thought, okay, something is going on. Something or someone is in the bedroom. What is going on? And I had similar experience like that. They all started the same way, except from the sound. The experience I had later was the same with the paralyzed feeling, but not with the sound, the metallic sound. But this was the first one. So, and I could see, use my eyes and see. I could look down and I saw my body. And I usually go to bed with nothing on, you know, so I had my covers on, and then I could see that my covers started to slide away. Somebody was pulling the covers off me while I was lying there. I couldn't see any hands or anything. I just saw the covers just pulling off. And I remember, oh my goodness, you know, I'm laying here naked.
Right.
please don't reveal anything. So I was kind of like talking telepathically, because I couldn't move my lips, just my eyes. But I wasn't so much concerned. Maybe I was a little bit worried about what is this, you know. And so they just pulled it down a little bit, and then I could see my foot just pushed up, straight up towards the ceiling. You know, it was just, I was just, yeah, how should I explain it? Let's get a line like this, and the foot goes straight up, like this, in an angle. Yeah, from my hip up. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not doing this. It's not me doing this. What is this?
Wow.
And then it started to rotating a couple of 3-4 times one way, and then it turned to go the other way. It rotated.
Wow.
And then it would they just put it down slowly. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? You know, and then I could feel my body coming into, I could sort of feel this tingling in my body again. It's like if you sit and your foot is asleep, and then when you release it, you get this, you know, this tingling, and my entire body was like that. And I was just lying there, oh my goodness, this tingling. And I could suddenly start feeling that I felt I could start, you know, moving my fingers and my toes. And I was like, okay, I'm back, you know, I'm back. And I was like, what happened? So I had to go to the bathroom. And when I got up and walked back and forth, and I was just, wait a minute. I don't have any problems with my knees and hip anymore. Wow. There's no pain anymore. Oh my God, I understood. Okay, they must have been here. Okay, they gave me a healing. So it was kind of, I knew it. I just started me and give healing. I never had any problems with my hip and my knee after that. So it's many, many years ago. It was in my early 20s. So yeah, that was one of them.
What did the being look like? Did you see the?
Right, no, not then. I didn't see them, but I had another experience. That experience it's very sensitive today, but it's just recently decided to talk about the experience.
Go ahead.
Because it was so sensitive and so, yeah. So that's in that experience, I could actually see their hands. But I also had another one later after this one. So maybe I should just quickly go through this one and then talk about the other one where I actually saw them. So this was the same kind of experience when they came in. I got paralyzed. I felt, okay, they're coming again. Probably the same thing will happen. And it did. Got paralyzed. They kind of put, I don't know, they have some kind of technology, I guess, to put you in so that your body won't resist or you know, try to get out of it.
Wow.
Yeah. Back up a little bit. I was in a relationship with my boyfriend, but it had been over. So I was not in, we just lived together for a while after the relationship was over. So I didn't have any, you know, we were not boyfriend and girlfriend. So we just lived separately in that apartment. So I didn't have anything to do with him sexually or anything, right? So while I was lying there, same thing happened. Covers went off. I was like, okay, here we go again. Just reminding you, I'm, you know, naked under the covers. So please be respectful. And they were very respectful, reassuring. I felt safe. And but I will back up a little bit again, because I had just found out prior to that experience, I have found out that I was pregnant. I checked it myself. I was pregnant. I went to the doctors and he confirmed, yes, you are pregnant. And that was a little bit mind blowing. I was like, but I have not had anything to do, any sexual, you know, to do with my boyfriend at all. And now I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, this is, yeah. And shortly after that, that experience happened. Little did I know what was going to happen then. But then back to the experience that took the cover off, just, you know, just below my navel, a little bit lower. And then I could, you know, as usual, I can just watch, I could move my eyes, and I looked down at my stomach, around my navel area, just a little bit below. I could see fingers. No, long, very long fingers. And they were pushing at my stomach. What I noticed is that I could see the fingerprints. When they were pushing, I could feel pressures on my lower stomach. And I can then see the fingerprints on my stomach. If you do like this, right? You press here and you can see, like, what do you call it? You can see the
You
prints.
can see the print, yeah.
The blood. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I witnessed it. I could see that. I first saw the hands, and then when they pushed it, I couldn't see them, but I could see the fingerprints. So I said, oh my goodness, that was weird. Okay, now I can't see the fingers, but I can see the fingerprints. Very long fingers. They were stretching all over my stomach. And they were pushing like 2 or 3 times, very slowly, very gentle. I could see that my stomach was pushed down, or my lower stomach was pushed down, because I could see my stomach, you know, go down and then up again as they pushed. And I said, I didn't know what was happening at all. So I said, okay, this isn't just another strange experience. And then when they were done with that, I could feel the same sensation with the tingling in my body. I knew, okay, now I'm gonna get my physical, you know, body. I could feel my physical body again. So I did, same thing. And I said, okay, this is weird. Now I have had another experience. Maybe they did some healing or something. And then I had to, after this was at night, then I had this missing time as well. So I just stood up walking around my apartment. And I couldn't, you know, I hadn't drank that much water either. But, you know, I went through the whole night until the morning, going to the bathroom all over again, all over again. I don't know how many times I went to the bathroom. And I said, how can this be? I haven't been drinking that much water.
Wow.
So I didn't think much of it. And then I had a feeling that this is weird. And I had this intuition that I should check. I should check again. I got another pregnancy test. And I did it. And I was not pregnant anymore.
Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah. So that was mind-blowing. Yeah. I tell you, it took me many, many, many years. I kind of pushed it back in my subconscious, I think, for a while. I thought that it was so weird, being pregnant, not being pregnant. How can this happen?
Yeah.
So I didn't know about these things then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had interviewed a
So
woman.
I didn't know about these.
Yeah, I interviewed a woman also who spoke about the same encounter in her bedroom, that she had like an immaculate conception, that she was pregnant after she felt a being, like the way you describe it, came into the room. She felt it but didn't see it, and she said that she was impregnated and she didn't know how, but when she went for a test, they confirmed the same.
No, really?
Yeah, the same exact thing as what you said, which is so interesting.
Oh my God, goodness, I get the goosebumps here. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I found out after many years later that there's something I call the hybridization program.
Yes.
That ETs are there, that you have made a kind of like an agreement with them prior your life, and you have a connection prior your life, and they follow you up throughout your life, and they can do that. That it's like an agreement to it.
Yeah.
But I never had any like fear-based feelings around it. I felt it was weird because I felt it was quite normal. Okay, this happens. It's okay. I don't have any fears around it. It was like, well, I must have agreed to it.
Yeah.
When I found out more what was really actually happening.
Yeah. Now I was gonna say, bring it a little forward in terms of understanding like who the connection was with. In other words, which race of starseeds did you feel you belonged to, and how did that feeling come about for you, or how did that connection come about?
Yeah, because I have had throughout the years I've had many encounters with different species, with different extraterrestrial races actually. So the one that I had after that experience, which I really saw, they had different looks to them.
Right.
They both been like grayish, bluish skinned, and some have been like brown skinned, very like wrinkly skin and heads, big black eyes. So this one, when I was going to bed another night, I felt someone in the room. I was alone in the bed, and I was with my back to the other side of the bed, and I could just feel that there was somebody in the room. And I was like, oh, should I dare to turn around now or what? Because I knew if I turned around, I would see something. With my curiosity, I just had to turn around, and I saw straight into the eyes of this brown skinned. He looked very like an ancient race. He had this wrinkles but these big black eyes. So when I turned, I looked straight into his. It was like this close. I'm not kidding. This close, and I was looking at him into his eyes. And I said, oh my God, I'm just seeing one physically right now. Wow. But immediately I felt drawn to just keep staring into his eyes. So I did. Okay, I'm going to staring into his eyes. And he took me on this travel through space. It was like going on a space travel through the universe, through his eyes. I could see planets and stars and systems, planets and systems and everything. I was like just traveling in his eyes. It was amazing. And when I was done, I just came back and I could see he just disappeared. Wow. So that was one encounter with, I call them the elders, an ancient race. I don't know if that's, it could be them who was there also giving me the healing. When I think about their fingers, you know, and their hands looked similar to what they looked at, like in the face. I also had through, so I'm also working with people doing CE5 contact meditations. And I see several different beings through those contact meditations, also appearing in the middle of the room, seeing them. Some of us could see them, some others could not. But we confirmed each other that I saw this and this, and I drew them. And this other person, oh my God, I could also see them. So me and this woman actually drew the same drawing of the same being at the same time.
Wow.
That we saw in the circle we were sitting meditating.
Well, when you were doing the CE5 and you had this contact, was it telepathic, or was it right in front of you or peripherally to the side? Are they what was the
right in front was in the middle of the circle, right in front. Yeah.
So
and it was telepathically communication, and I could see her, so I drew one of her and I showed it to the group, and this other lady was like, I drew exactly the same drawing of her. We called her because I felt this feminine energy about it.
No.
So I also also in my own C5 by myself C5 meditations, I've seen them appearing in the room, and these beings are more blue skinned. Reminds me of the beings in Avatar, you know, the blue skin beings in the movie Avatar. Yeah, so they come and sit with me when I sit there in my room by myself meditating. So they have come, having a chat with me and talking to me, just, you know, giving me some messages, and I was like, oh, this is nice, you know.
Yeah.
So yes, I've seen them. Yeah, seen them also physically, and through other CE5 meditations we've done, we can several of us people in the circle can see in the wall an opening. This opens up this bright light that creates like a portal, and they step out of it, and they step into the room from the portal.
Wow, I've seen
the
photos. Yeah, I've seen the photos on your website, which I'll share.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so I try to draw them, and you know, just so when I can remember them, so I draw them. But this experience that I've shared with others that see the same thing, or we can be 2 or 3 people seeing the same thing, but the others cannot. But they can feel and sense the energy, but they can't actually see them. So it's very, very interesting.
What's most important is the message that they would either you know, relay to you telepathically or through channeling. And is there specific messages that they have at this time, or that they've given you?
Oh, they have come with many messages.
Maybe you could share.
Yeah, a lot of them is for me personally, for my own growth, spiritual growth and expansion of consciousness. So I had like private sessions, you might say, with them. I still do. But they have come to say that basically they are our older brothers and sisters, that we come from them. The humanity are actually seeded from these races. Different races have had different impacts on the human race, you know. So it's no accident that we're here, and that it's time that we should know that we come from other places, that we are not in the, you know, through the Darwin, you know,
evolution
system, or evolution, but no, so they actually little by little, as they see fit, and how we receive the message, telling us that they are all our oldest brothers and sisters. They want us to expand, try, you know, do what we can to expand our consciousness and to connect our mind with our hearts. And they say we are amazing beings. We have this humanness in us that some of them don't have, and which they also lost a long time ago. So they are actually coming back and telling us. That's why also they do the hybridization program. So they want to take the best of the humanity, which is our love and compassion, and that we have within us, which is unique within us as humans, and to evolve another species with their, what they have learned and what they are. So that's the hybridization program.
Yeah.
And they are very concerned also about Earth, because they look upon Earth as a jewel, and everything upon the Earth, the animals, the plants, and everything are part of something beautiful that we should respect that, or we should take responsibility. It's like to say, well, as we are your older sisters and brothers, you are the older sisters and brothers of the earth, of the plants and the animals. Wow. So you are custodians on earth. And they want us to know that, they often repeat that message. They often repeat those messages so that they make sure that we get it. So they're a little bit concerned about what we are doing right now. We are on a little bit of, out of course, out of balance, and out of harmony with the earth, with nature, the ecosystem, the animals. And they are slowly trying to tell us to get back to the connection with the earth and nature. And this also said, listen to your brothers and sisters, the indigenous people, because they are carriers of this old and ancient wisdom. Wow. So they're really enforcing that. We should, talk to them, because they said they have had close contact with indigenous people all over the world for thousands and thousands of years. So they are the wisdom keepers. And they say that one day when we get in so much trouble one day, getting out of course, that we need to come back and we need to seek the knowledge, the wisdom from the indigenous people again, so we can come back right on track with nature, with plants, with animals. Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you got it.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's interesting because I find that people like yourself, who are like a lighthouse of spreading this word of enlightenment and raising people's level of consciousness, bring people back to the indigenous ways. I myself have that connection to that indigenous culture, that feeling of doing what I'm doing. And when I see you expressing your experience and sharing this wisdom from the Starseed, from the Star Nations, from above, it's a very interesting concept, because I remember as a child when I used to watch a commercial that played in the early 70s, which was a Native American man riding on a horse through the woods, and he comes across the highway, the parkway, where all the cars are going by, and he realizes what civilization has done, and he also sees people throwing their drinks and their paper out of the car window, and it lands by his feet. So he looks down, and then a tear comes down his eyes, and so that stuck with me so much. Even till today, I feel so disgusted when I see pollution and I see people throwing stuff. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
I know how you feel. I feel exactly the same. Exactly the same. I get so frustrated. I get sad and everything like that. And so it's so important that, like, people like you and me, that we have that connection, that we do whatever we can to raise the consciousness and to raise our own vibrations. Because when we also raise our own vibration, we can get much more contact with our star ancestors and star family, to more guidance and more strength and courage to be the lighthouses, as you put it.
Yeah.
Which is just beautiful, and we should.
Because
they also showed me. Yeah.
Let me hear that. But
they also showed me. I did a meditation once with a friend, and I went into trance, and they came through me. There was 2 or 3 different beings that came through me. But what stood out most was this being that came out and said that We don't want to scare you or anything. It's, you know, you shouldn't fear anything, but this is a possible future you're heading towards if you don't stop and then you connect again to your true nature, which is inside you and which is also around you in nature and animals and plants and the earth. So they showed me very vividly pictures of fires and floods, earthquakes and all that. And I said, okay, I understood. Okay, so this is something that can be a possible outcome if we are going down that road. You know,
Yeah.
if we are just gonna think about power, money, we're gonna literally rape the earth, you know, killing of animals, you know, violence and war and all these things that they gave me. This is what can happen, because what you put out there, you know, will come back to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
In terms of the experiences that you've had in your life, how has it
yeah,
enhanced your life in terms of your ability for healing work or for psychic ability, mediumship, all the things?
yes,
What has it done?
it has done everything. It's been a part of it, and it's enhanced my my gifts, you might say. And it's been, they, you know, they always been there guiding me through everything. So it is, I believe that it is because of all these experiences that has expanded my consciousness and, you know, also my heart when it comes to healing, you know, using my heart and love to heal. So it's all intertwined. It's a part of it. Absolutely. It's
Yeah,
all like one and the same, you might say. So it's a part of it.
yeah,
Because I believe that if I hadn't had these experiences, I just, you know, because I've never actually been trained that much. I haven't gone courses after courses or schools to do this. You know, it has come and evolved naturally within
yeah,
me.
yeah. But then again,
So I think that, yeah,
yeah, then again, you mentioned earlier the calling by the galactic forces that have directed you to be returned towards this type of work in order to, shine
absolutely.
your light on things. How,
Absolutely. They have
yeah.
guided me towards this work to do it. Yeah.
So what is it? What exactly do you do with healing work in terms of shamanic work? Are you doing shamanic healing itself, or are you just connecting to the animals, or the spirit animals, and what type of work?
Yeah, I do all these types of shamanic, you know, ceremonies as
Yes.
well. And I also do regular healings where I send you distant healings or hands-on healings. I do healings animals. So I have my guides with me all the time when I'm going to do healing. They come in and they tell me where I should put my hands, what I should envision, and how I should do it. So
Wow.
this constantly guiding. So I just have to have the intention to do something, and they come in and I just ask them, okay, I don't know, you know, please let me know what I should do. So they work through me. But I also use, as you said, the shamanic ceremonies, the healings, the drum, the chanting as well, the singing, you
Yeah.
know. Absolutely. The drum journeys are also a form of healing for many. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the
So absolutely.
what was the in terms of how you've been in contact with these beings, have they enhanced your ability to recognize others who exist on this earthly plane as being part of different star families?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I can often when I meet people, I can sense that there's a strong familiarity there. It's like, oh, this, you know, this connection is something special, and I feel that this you must. And I always when I ask others, like, do you have had any encounters? Or what are you doing? You know, and
Yeah.
I feel that okay, I feel like my family, or I call them my tribe. So I know that they are, you know, connected, that we are connected through them. And often there are parallels in our stories and our experiences. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So I can recognize, yeah.
I know you've had other experiences with Jesus itself in terms of the energy. I'll just leave it on this subject. I had
Oh,
I have a shaman friend from Ecuador who told me about 40 years
mhm.
ago he was called into the Amazon when he was working business and told him that he had to leave his work to do healing work. And a man told him
Yeah.
to go into the woods, and a mothership landed in the Amazon or that area, and off stepped Archangel Michael, he told me, and Jesus. And
Oh,
I heard your
wonderful.
description of Jesus, and he described it the same way when I spoke to him last year.
Really? Really?
Yeah,
Oh my
he
goodness.
described the color of the skin and specifically the eyes, that when he looked into the eyes, he saw. So maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about your experience.
Sure. Oh my goodness. I get goosebumps every time I'm going to tell that story. But again, I was in the same apartment as the other experiences. I went to bed, couldn't sleep. And I also had the same experience with that where I got, you know, my body just, I didn't have any contact with my body anymore, paralyzed. It's not like the sleep, what do you call it? The sleep,
Sleep paralysis.
yeah, it's not like that. No, that's something else. So this is something quite different. But I was laying there and I could feel something going on in the room again. I said, okay, here we go again. Something's going on. And then I looked towards the door and the door was like half open. And then I could see, first of all, I could see this woman appearing slowly, materializing in the door.
Wow.
And she had she just looked like, you know, Mary, basically, you know. And I said, oh my God, that's Mary.
Wow.
And she had these blue cloths on and these white cloths, and I couldn't see her face, but I could surely feel the energy, the feminine energy, the power emanating from her, the love. And I said, oh, I was just staring at the door at her. And then I could sense something was going on next to my bed. It was like a 50 centimeters away, next to my bed, within like my head. I was laying and it was like, I could feel that it was so close to me. And I could see something appearing, getting more and more physical, taking form. And there he was. And I was like, oh my, I could instantly recognize him. I said, there's no doubt who this is. Because and the love that emanated from him, it was, I mean, I have never felt that love ever before on earth or within, you know, between people or others. That love was something out of worldly. As I said, I've never experienced it before, and I don't think I'm going to experience that here on earth ever.
Wow.
That's how amazing, strong it was. And I was lying there, and he was just, you know, he had tilted a little bit, and he had this beautiful smile, as if he was looking at this child lying there in a crib. You know, he was just tilting his head, looking, the smile, looking at me straight into my eyes. And then I caught myself in his eyes, and I was like, I was just in pure love. I was just in this pure, unconditional love. Each time I talk about this, I can feel the goosebumps. It's amazing. And his eyes was golden brown. I noticed it. I mean, literally looked straight into his eyes. I could see, you know, everything, the iris and the golden brown, and you know, everything.
Wow.
So they were just golden brown. It was like a light emanating from behind his eyes and through his eyes, and the love was just amazing. And he also had this, you know, this golden brown skin, or this brownish skin, you know, and his hair was like wavy, shoulder length, and he had this perfectly beard, actually, beard, trimmed perfectly. He was just amazing. He was gorgeous. I was thinking, I think I just fell in love with the guy. I mean, I was just laying in the crib, but the power he had, the love, unconditional love he had, was so strong that when I was lying there, I felt like a little baby, a much loved little baby.
Wow.
So I remember I was like, oh God, I feel like a baby. I'm just a baby. I'm just a child. While he was looking at me, slightly tilted with his head, with his smile. And it was just, I think it was the most profound and loving experience ever. So
Yeah, interesting.
he stayed there for a while, and then he just faded. He stayed there for a while, and then he just kind of faded more and more, and then vanished.
If anybody would like to like reach out to your to your website, maybe you could share that.
Yeah, my website is etcn.no. So there I have some information, and you can reach me through there to send me a mail. You can, fill in the forms. And I'm also reachable on Facebook and Messenger as well.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I forgot to tell you also, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you also about the connection and those I are in contact with now. I call them the blues, and I can see them. I saw them last night, actually. They came in a form like a diamond, and they really glitter and shine this diamond up on the ceiling. They come to me, that's how I see them physically. These blue beings, they're like orbs, blue orbs. They are just like, they are just going through the room, and they show up here and there. And I asked about them, and I was taking through a meditation to their ship, and I met them physically on that ship, these blue beings. And these were Syrians. So I have had contact with Syrians, I still do, and the Pleiadians also sometimes in and out, and then the Andromedians as well. But today I interact a lot with the blue ones.
so
Blue, and he's
when you say blue,
yes.
first it comes in as an orb, or then it becomes a figure itself, or how does that work?
So they came in many years ago as a blue. I took a picture of them actually. In the sky. I have it here. You might see it. This is outside my house.
That's what I saw over my
ship.
car.
Yeah, really. Ooh,
well, I think so.
yeah.
But it couldn't
so
be.
I had this guy analyzing it. I had this guy analyzing if he was from the States, and he came back to me and said, "You just took a picture of a UFO," because he was really good at analyzing these kind of pictures.
Wow.
So he said you can see even the windows in that.
Yes.
That's how it started. So I started taking picture of orbs, and then I took many hundreds of pictures of the orbs, and then I started taking pictures like these. These are blue orbs. This is in my room where I meditate. And they show up like this. This is also a blue one. Amazing. And so I first started taking picture of them, and then they started coming into the room, and I can now see them with my physical eyes, appearing, disappearing, dancing around. And I was, I had in contact with. I just called. This was one representative of them, so I called him. I felt that it was his male energy, so I called him the blue. And they are watchers. They are here watchers. I met him through my meditation. I do trance meditation as well. So he took me. Suddenly I was on this ship, and he was sitting there. He had this blue skin, so he was like a Syrian blue being. And yeah, they are very interesting. So I'm working on channeling him more and more now. So I want him maybe to come through me, so I can actually share some channelings with him and his group.
It's interesting to quiet the mind down to the level of hearing or surrendering towards allowing another's information to be absorbed into your consciousness. It's there's so many people who have gifts and talents, but the ability to do what you're doing and to be able to be at peace and to be able to be a transmission, to receive the transmission is very fascinating. Mm-hmm. And that's a gift in itself.
Yeah.
It's so inspirational to hear for me.
Thank you. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is, because they tell us, they're trying to tell us that we who can perceive them and wants to do this work, they say that we just have to do the work in actually heighten our frequency or vibrational levels, so that they can reach us much better, reach us easier. Yeah. Because sometimes it's hard for them to come through. So that's why they're not doing that as often, because it takes them a lot of energy, and other stuff is going on when they are going to meet us. So to come down here physically, really, like mass landings and all that stuff. So, but they're waiting for us to raise our consciousness and our vibrational levels. And there are things we can do to do that. That helps a lot, they say. So they actually waited for us to do that work so they can. So that's a form of inviting them to come and meet us physically on a much larger level.
Yeah.
on Earth.
Yeah, I want to
So
ask you
yeah.
one more question. How are you able to balance your earthly existence with this connection to the stars? How does it play into your ability to feel like you're part of the earth, but also part of the universe? And how does that work?
Yeah, yeah, that's where the shamanic work comes in, and really supports that, work grounding, work, being in nature, doing shamanic work, working with animals, talking with animals, the earth, the dirt, the plants, the animals, the sea, the mountains, the rivers and everything. And so the shamanic work really helps me to stay connected to the earth. So they also said that you have to be grounded on the earth, and then just have your mind and
Open.
in the skies or in the heavens, in the
Yeah, that's right.
universe, and you have to have that balance.
Masculine, feminine.
So that's, yeah. So that's what they urge us to do that work as well, because that grounds us, so we are more able to receive the wisdom and the messages from the universe and from other beings there, because it's all connected.
Yeah,
We are all one. It's all connected. The shamanic work we're doing, and also with the contacts, and it's very important work. That's the work that will bring humanity to a totally new level and evolution. It also is very important work that we do that, and the shamanic work really helps me to
me too.
connect with animals and nature. Yeah.
If you could leave the audience with one last message based upon your experiences or your life or inspiration, what would you say?
Oh goodness, I would probably say that it's very important to have an open mind, a peaceful mind, to always be open and receiving for all the gifts that are around us all the time. There's something out there, and then there's us. It's just all the miracles and all the beings and everything that exists is right there in front of you. So just have an open mind, a peaceful mind. When you have a peaceful mind, you are inserting that you are here, and you want that connection in a peaceful and loving way. And then to also have an open heart, really have an open and compassionate heart towards everything around you, towards yourself, towards others, towards nature, animals and everything around you. And then and always try to come from good intentions. Always have good intentions towards everything and everyone, for the greater good of all. These are steps we can do easily every day that will actually help elevate our vibrations and frequencies. And that is a great help to Earth and Earth's evolution and Earth's, ascension.
Yeah.
That we heighten our vibrations, and we can do that through these simple steps. And there's probably more good steps as well. But doing that work and being conscious and being open to being open to expand our consciousness and connect also to our heart.
Yeah.
It's really important, and just to have good intention and to be kind and come from a good place, peaceful, good and loving place within ourselves.
Well, I want to
That's what I
thank you.
would say.
I want to thank you for joining me, for sharing your wisdom, your insight, your experiences, and the courage to be able to show the aspects of ourselves that exist beyond what we see with our two eyes, and for you to be able to, pass on the wisdom that you have, received, and help others expand as well. So I want to thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Adam. It was a pleasure to be with you and your audience, and I'm very passionate with what you are doing, and you're doing great work as well. So thank you for having me. It was really joyful, and yeah, I
Okay.
really appreciate it, and I appreciate you
Thank you.
and what you do.
Hold on, I'll stop it now, and then I'll just. Okay. Yeah,
Sure.
I stopped the record. Yeah, so very interesting. Maybe you'll be able to share with me through an email the meditations that you do in terms of expansion or the transmeditational ones. That'd be helpful.
Yeah. So are you? Yeah.
Let me just lower that. Yeah.
So yeah, I also do these meditation. What I use in the CFI contact meditations, we use this harmonizing meditation first, and then we have these other things. But that more of this contact. Would you like me to share that?
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
contact protocol, as I call it. Or,
Yeah, I would like that. I'm constantly looking up. I'm constantly looking up into the sky, and as you said earlier, always looking for connection, and I do feel a connection from above as well. So I understand that.
Yeah.
All right, Tatiana.
Sure, I can do that. Yeah, thank you, Adam. You're doing great work, and I love the work you do. It's really inspiring. Yeah.
I'm inspired by you, and I'm interested in shamanic and all that other stuff. I always expand upon the Native American feeling within me as well.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's great. Yeah.
I will.
Okay. Thank you, Adam.
Okay, bye.